This will be a film study look at one aspect of J.K. Dobbins' game that I think I was remiss about, and I haven't heard mentioned by a ton of people online. Certainly not on television or radio, where most of the conversation is, quite surface level and generally just focused on contract or overall stats. We all do that to a certain extent, and I did that I think in a recent film study of J.K. Dobbins that I thought was comprehensive, where I offered my opinion on his potential re-signing, potential contract extension. I thought that video was pretty comprehensive, or at least it was intended to be. But I think there was one element that I didn't cover in detail, or I wasn't very specific about. I got a couple of messages on Twitter after a post that I made this past week about J.K. Dobbins' ability to make extra yards where yards do not appear to be. I think I've got 6 plays queued up here. They're just going to run on in the off season here. Most of my film study has been pre-video edits, meaning I'm editing the video, sometimes slowing it down, spot shadowing stuff, and then letting it run while I have commentary that I read out for you that I talk about. This is not a J.K. Dobbins, what his stats are, what his contract should or should not be, should the Ravens sign a running back, all of that stuff. This is to focus on one specific element, what I believe is J.K. Dobbins' special ability to make something out of nothing. And this first play, I think, is the best example. The remaining 5 plays, I don't think, are the best examples necessarily, but this one I love against the Steelers in Baltimore in Week 17. And I think this is related to him not getting the ball in down near the goal line against the Bengals tied at 17 in the wild card game. I think this is why he's so frustrated. This is who J.K. Dobbins is, and this is what he can do. Now, there's times where he's been tackled for a loss, but this is an amazing play. Highsmith, who's a really talented outside linebacker for the Steelers, plays with a incredible effort. After the play, just so you know, he's right here. After the play, watch his frustration level because he knows he's in here and he should get a tackle for loss. But J.K. Dobbins is just different. He spins out of this and then is able to put his hand on the ground. We called this the Ray Rice drill because we got it from, I think, Rutgers University after Ray Rice had played there. Running back, putting your hand on the ground, getting that third point of contact besides your 2 feet. This is an amazing run that I think only goes down as a 2-yard gain. He can make people miss outright. He can power through half of a tackle. He can run through arm tackles. He can turn what should have been a 4-yard loss on this play into a 2 or 3-yard gain, or even more, in fact. Now, his vision plays a role in this dynamic, along with his physical gifts and his awareness. This is another one. Now, the all 22 angle can sometimes be a little bit deceiving, but you get this designed one-man screen to the boundary where he's following Patrick Ricard clearly. And there was 2 receivers, I think, lined up down to the bottom side. Here's Watkins, one of them. Maybe Oliver was lined up to that side as well. So I could be wrong. Maybe there was 2 receivers up there to the top side. But in any case, this is the third different concept I've seen the Ravens use against the Bengals in Week 18 or the wildcard game, where they're attacking to a side where there's no receiver split out wide. And maybe the angle is deceiving, but this cut here and then the burst just look. Now I slowed it down so it makes it look amazing, I guess, but damn if it doesn't look pretty incredible on live speed against the Bills. I think Week 4 at home, there is a hole here certainly, but this is an example of him just playing through contact. He's not just a guy who's gonna get 6 yards per carry. And I'm gonna go into a pet peeve here. I've kind of hoodwinked you here, to be honest with you. He's a yards after contact king. There's so much discussion about yak. I even hate using the phrase for real in terms of receivers. My larger point for this video is nobody, myself included, has really talked about the yards after contact that J.K. Dobbins gets. Now, I've seen the stats that he benefited from Greg Roman's offense. He was untouched, generally far downfield. Well, I've showed you the first play, and there's 2 other ones that I couldn't find. I'll be honest with you. In my work this weekend, the last 3 or 4 days, I was unable to find 2 other runs that I wanted to show. This one, I think, says it all. You're going to see it a couple of times. Wide receiver yak is, in my opinion, oftentimes related to the coverage they're seeing, meaning there's going to be more chunk yards after the catch against man coverage than there will against zone. That's a somewhat of an oversimplification. The route schemes also have an impact, the play design, and then, clearly player talent. There's a lot of the element in terms of yards after contact with running backs that I think is more player centered, or more a responsibility on the player in terms of their athletic ability, their vision, ability to make people miss. To me, he showed enough of these plays where, there was either initial contact in the backfield or he had to juke someone at or near the line of scrimmage or change directions in the backfield. And we didn't talk about it that much, myself included. There was a couple of people, I forget who they were. So, name yourself, in the comment section if you watched the video or the premiere, that talked about this during the season, that J.K. Dobbins was different from the other running backs that the Ravens had, and I agree with them. There is certainly the element where he can gain an extra yard or two, or in this case, 1 extra yard or 3 extra inches was the difference between a touchdown and no touchdown. I think that was a third down play. Maybe it was a second down. Look, his yards after contact for me is because of the force he played with in late 2022. I'm saying particularly the last 4 or 5 games that you're seeing, a lot of highlights stem from right now. The fact he turned in these plays like this one against the Steelers, while clearly still recovering from an injury, makes his ability all the more impressive to me, his talent all the more impressive. And I think kind of shifts the conversation a little bit about, should the Ravens seriously consider bringing him back. I have no idea what his salary demands are, but look, he had more runs than just this one. He had that screen against the Bengals in the wild card game. Sometimes he just fits through gaps that don't look that big at first. Again, the all 22, particularly on the far sideline, can be a little bit deceiving. There's more space than it probably looks like here to us. But with a healthy J.K. Dobbins, a healthy Gus Edwards, a healthy Lamar back, I absolutely think Dobbins could average 6 yards per carry or more this year. And let me explain how. I think there'll be more pre-snap RPOs based on defensive alignment than in the past. And I'm talking about early in the game, I suspect that Monken is a guy who's going to do this early in the game. Can't prove it yet. Where pre-snap, Lamar's going to survey the defense and look for a particular alignment, look for a particular location of the safeties, maybe an inside linebacker or a nickel defender. And then he's either going to give the ball to the running back on the run concept to one side of the offense, let's say the offense is left, or keep the ball and flip it out to the other side, in this case the offense is right, for a quick screens to stretch the defense horizontally. Essentially a pre-snap RPO. Not all RPOs are post-snap reads by the quarterback. Everybody knows that sometimes they're reading the numbers pre-snap and then determining, okay, it looks like they're probably going to be in this coverage. I think we'll have numbers over here to this side if I give it to the running back. And the Ravens did some of that in 2022, don't get me wrong, but not as much with JK. It didn't seem like they did that as much with JK, and I think we'll see some more of it in 2023 for real. I think we'll see more situations where he's allowed to be that running back who benefits from scheme. And he benefited from some of the schemes that Greg Roman used last year, but I'm talking about the pre-snap RPO schemes. I think Todd Monken's going to stretch the field horizontally early in the game. I think J.K. Dobbins going to rip off some huge runs early and force defenses to adjust in ways they don't want to. For whatever reason, it didn't seem like the Ravens ran as many of these plays with Huntley in when Dobbins really flourished, the last 4 or 5 games of the season after he came back. I don't think he played a single game with Lamar Jackson that I'm aware of. I could be wrong. Hell, maybe there's a play in here where he did. I think there actually is one, now that I said it. But I think he'll be used as essentially the jab in Todd Monken's offense, him and Gus Edwards. Simply put, I think what those two can do will only be amplified in this offense. And the ability that they have to either make people miss, run through arm tackles, or squeeze out an extra 2 or 3 yards where, perhaps there was not a 5 or 6 yard gain available, I think is a special skill. And a healthy JK and a healthy Gus are the guys who can do that. I didn't bring it up enough in that film study video, so I wanted to focus on. I got 2 people message me on Twitter to point that out to me, and let me know what you guys think. I know we've already discussed his ability his stats, his output, his production, his contract request, mandatory minicamp, him not participating. But this is a specific focus on his ability to spin, juke, or power his way to an extra 1, 2, or 3 or 4 more yards on plays that were defended well up front. For me, Gus Edwards is next. One of my favorite players. I got so many of them on the Ravens. That word favorite probably isn't even really an accurate term at this point. He'll be next for me to do some stuff on Twitter and YouTube. So let me know what your thoughts are on this video, and then projecting forward, me talking about Gus Edwards a little bit and what he'll be able to do as a power downhill running back. Now, and look, this is an ulterior motive for me too. When I package plays together like this, I can then use them later on. So it's not just me trying to create content now as it stands in July during a very, down period for football conversation. But I get to have the video organized to use during the season. If I see a similar run or a similar run concept by a player during the season, I already have this stuff queued up, and I can hopefully try to add some depth or make some comparisons to previous things that have happened in the past with the Ravens or any other team. Let me know what you guys think of the video. Me talking about the missed impact or hidden impact that J.K. Dobbins has on numerous carries, in the limited time he played in 2022 and in a full season in 2023. I think you'll see, instead of 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of those plays, I think you'll see 12 or 14 of them if he gets the type of carries per game that he should. Appreciate you guys' time. Let me know what you think of the video. If you got ideas for the Gus Edwards video or potential things to focus on, please let me know. And if you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this video content, please consider finding the link and then sharing it out on social media to help this video get more reach.